Man, if you seen me drunk, right, and few people have seen me drunk, right, if you see me drunk, there's absolutely no way that anyone's getting served anything. I would be stood behind that bar, butt naked, arguing with every single person who comes through the door. I will tell them it's the wrong time of day.
Every story I hear about you being drunk, it's you being butt naked.
Man, it's
Listen,
one of the things.
I saw him drunk one time. He came into, I was at his job, his old job at the junction. Came in, no, but he walked through that door like he was damn sure butt naked. He came in there like he was ready to fuck something right there and then. He was
Shout out. I was drinking in the Crooked Knife for brunch, and I'm not sure if Rob had mentioned it to me at that point, but I went down there and I ended up back at the junction, man. I was hanging out at the traffic lights on 39th and Lex, and, you know, just acting the maggot. But really, I would love to be able to recap on all my stories, and I'm sure as we go through this for drinking we will. But some of them are just like, you know, they're too much and too far.
explicit.
Yeah. Man, just fucking. It was a good, like, you get to listen to a lot of books or whatever, but at the same time it's like you're fucking out there. But you know, when you get out there by yourself, you really realize you're like, oh, I could die.
There's no
Or,
turning
like,
back.
Not like, I know you're pretty safe in general in the country at the moment, probably some places, but like, you know, you start thinking about all the documentaries you've watched where it's like, oh, this guy went to do this and the next thing you know he died, or this woman go to do this and the next thing you know you die. You just realize you're vulnerable, well, especially when you're around all of the nature. You know, you're driving in the middle of fucking nowhere. You're driving for miles, and there's just like, once you go through Pennsylvania, you got like all these big hills and stuff. Then you're looking around, and you're like, there's nothing out here, like nothing out here. If you bumped into the wrong person out there or some whack job, like,
Yeah, exactly.
no one would ever know.
Yeah,
you know?
some whack job.
Or as a chef, well, just the neighborhood I was in, man, I got into trouble, and I'm like, I'm hanging out with all the wrong people. I'm fucking around like crazy. I never missed a day at work. I'm like hanging out with people who are like involved in crime. I'm not myself committing crime, but I'm definitely like around it, like a ridiculous amount to a very high stakes, to the point where none of these people are alive anymore. And the ones who are, they're in jail. So I'm like, I'm living this life. I'm going to a hair salon every day. And at night I'm hanging around with these dudes who are like definitely, you know, putting a spewed view on criminality in my eyes, you know, or they didn't call it criminality because they didn't view themselves as criminals, but a very spewed view. So I'm like very taken back by it, and I'm also being essentially groomed to an extent. At a certain point, shit hits the fan with these guys. They get into like a feud with a lot of other people. Man, I get stabbed. I get stabbed in the arm, get stabbed in the leg, get stabbed in the hand, get stabbed in the side. I'm sitting outside my cousin's house in a car, and I pull up to my cousin's house. Some dude pulled up, jumped out of a car around the corner, ran up with a mask on, opened the car, stabbed me a heap of times. Right? Next thing you know, I'm like, okay, what am I doing with my life? I have to reassess everything. I'm like, okay. I was looking at it, and I ended up, thankfully for me, because it's definitely not something that agrees with me, steering away from alcohol. But steering away from alcohol also kept me away from any other drugs that go hand in hand with alcohol. As everyone in the industry knows, it's like, if you're going to drink a lot, the odds are at some point you're going to be partying with other sort of stuff. If you're partying with other sort of stuff, the problem is it leads to like, it's a very quick spiral down. And like, in terms of drinking,